Hey everybody, this is Jonathan Twombly of Multifamily Launchpad coming to you live on Facebook. We have got a great presentation today for all of you about 8 steps to finding your first multifamily deal. I thought this would be a topic that you guys would be really interested in talking about. I know it's a really tough time out there right now, so we're going to just go into it, all right? So I'm going to share my screen with you all now and get into the presentation. Afterwards, we will have plenty of time to answer questions, and we'll just take it from there. So let's get going. All right, so you should be able to see my screen at this point. Here's the presentation: 8 steps to getting your first multifamily deal. As always, I just want to remind you, you can put comments into the Facebook group. It is a little difficult for me to see because there's a delay between when I'm doing it and when you're seeing it. But put your questions into the group and I will get to them as soon as I can, all right? As soon as I get through the presentation, I will answer any and all questions that you've got. So here we go. Okay, so what to expect? Well, this is, as always, it's a very high-level discussion. We really can't go into great detail here. It's more of a jumping-off point for the Facebook group for us to get a conversation going. I'm always happy to answer more questions about this in the group. So, as I said, when you put your questions into the group during this presentation, I'll answer them, and always after the presentation, too. We can keep the conversation going. So feel free to ask questions at the end, as always. Now, there's also something very special at the end today. I am reopening my multifamily mentoring program, Multifamily Launchpad. Once again, this is only something that opens up once a quarter. We just wrapped up the last group, which is terrific, and I'm opening it up again at the beginning of August. So I want to let you all know about that. There are some new options available for joining that we haven't done in the past, and we'll be talking about those. As always, very few spots are available. This is a very selective program. Really want to make sure that it gives value to everybody, so I only take a few people. And there are going to be some early bird discounts for a very limited time, so stay tuned for information about that too. Okay, so here we go. 8 steps to getting your first multifamily deal. Now, there's a big problem for newbie investors, and that is that newbies are very risky to deal with. This is really kind of the fundamental issue why it's so hard for you to get your first deal and why everything changes after you get your first deal. But it is really risky for pretty much any stakeholder in multifamily to deal with you, and I'll just sort of explain briefly why that is. Now, for sellers, there's obviously the risk that the deal doesn't close. Now, I think as a newbie investor, you think, well, so what? They'll just go sell it to somebody else. What's the big deal? It's really not that simple. The problem is that for the seller, there's a very significant investment of time and effort that goes into selling a deal. You've got to provide all kinds of due diligence materials. You've got to pretty much turn your property upside down. You've got to allow in third-party vendors. You've got to allow in the seller to, the buyer to do their inspections, do their lease audits. This takes a lot of time and effort. So you really want to minimize this if you can. You don't want to go through this process if you're not going to close the deal. You can have a lot of disruptions if you have people coming through looking at the property, and these disruptions can cause tenants to leave. Oftentimes, tenants get very skittish when a property is being sold because they just assume that the devil that they don't know is worse than the one that they do, and that things are going to change for the worse rather than the better, or that rents are going to rise and they're going to have to leave. So oftentimes, if they find out that a property is being sold, they don't renew, and this can cause a problem if you don't close. Staff may leave. I've actually had this happen on properties where staff found out that we were trying to sell the property. The staff left. They were great staff. They really, we wanted them to stay. They left, and then we didn't close the deal. So this is a really big problem. So, sellers really want buyers who can close. And there's also costs incurred. I mean, you've got, not as much as on the buyer side, but on the seller side, you've got your legal fees at the very least that you have to pay for. There may be some other fees if you're trying to pay off a loan that you've incurred. So if you don't have a buyer who is really able to close, then this is really an issue. And the other thing is that, during the contract period, it's always possible that the market may move against the seller. You could contract for a high price and then have a seller that doesn't close. And in the meantime, the market moves and goes down, and you can't find another seller to buy at that same price. So that's an opportunity cost, again, for the seller to go into contract with somebody who doesn't ultimately close. Now, for brokers, there's also risk. There's a really big sort of business harm risk here. And that comes in many, many parts. So there's obviously, for the brokers too, there's a significant time and effort investment in a deal that they don't want to see go down the drain. They obviously make no money if the deal doesn't close. So, that's really bad for the brokers to spend all that time and effort and then not make any money at the end of the day. They may also have invested significant marketing costs. And this is, again, something that I think a lot of new investors are not really aware of. But it's, you don't just put a deal up and it's free. It sits on some website. If you have a big brokerage firm marketing your deal, they're going to put a lot of time and human cost and money into advertising and marketing this deal. And if the deal doesn't close, that's all down the drain. So they also take a risk here dealing with somebody who may not be able to close. And finally, bringing somebody unqualified and going to bat for them with a seller, because oftentimes it's the broker that is convincing the seller of which offer to take. If they go in with an unproven buyer, they can damage the reputation with that seller client and never ever get that back. That could be something that they hurt their relationship with the seller, and they hurt their relationship in the marketplace if word gets out that they couldn't close this deal because they brought the wrong buyer here. Now, with lenders too, there is a risk, and that is the risk of a failed deal. Now, even though when you hear people talking about sort of, there are private lenders out there who talk about, isn't this great because I'm secured and I can always foreclose on the deal and I get a deal at way below cost. That's not the way that commercial lenders think, right? Commercial lenders want the deal to work. They want performing loans. They want to be getting the interest from that money that they've lent out. They do not want to be foreclosing on a deal and then have it on their balance sheet and have to operate it and then sell it. So they really don't want to have unqualified buyers who can't close the deal, who run the risk. It's not so much of closing. In this case, it's the risk of operating the deal badly and winding up in foreclosure. So they favor borrowers with substantial experience over new buyers, right? And it's this experience factor is so important that even if you have a high net worth, it really may not matter if the team isn't experienced from the bank's perspective. Right? I think we've all heard of those. I like to call them the four dentists deal, and no offense to any dentists in the audience, but you have a case where you've got four guys with substantial money who operate a business already. They're operating a dental practice. They're obviously smart and educated, and they think, hey, running a multifamily property is easy. Let's go buy it. And they buy a deal and they run it into the ground, right? This is not uncommon because there's some arrogance involved also, but it's running a multifamily property is not as easy as it's made out to be. So the lenders know this, and they've been through this, and they want to make sure that the buyers really know what they're doing before they lend to them. So this is another risk that newbies pose, even if they have the means to close the deal. Now, the way that you overcome this issue is to build your credibility with stakeholders, right? You have to build your credibility with all of the various stakeholders in the, in the ecosphere, of multifamily real estate. So how do you build your credibility with sellers? Well, this one's obvious. You got to close deals, right? Okay, end of presentation. You guys now know what to do. Just go close the deal. End of story. Well, obviously it's not so simple, right? Because that's really the whole problem here. There really isn't any way around this part with sellers, how you get credibility with them. So the question is, well, how do you get there, right? This is kind of being a little circular, but how do you get to the point where you can close a deal so you can get credibility with sellers? And the route there is through brokers, okay? They have to build credibility with brokers. If you want to close deals, this is really the only way to do it. So how do you do that? How do you build your credibility with brokers? Okay, well, it's a process, right? there are 8 steps to this, as I kind of hinted in the beginning with the title of the presentation. But the first step is you got to get your mindset right. Okay, this is really kind of the fundamental key to everything. If you don't get your mindset right up front, none of the rest of this really matters that much. So you are an investor now. You have to own that, right? If you've decided that this is what you want to pursue, even if you don't have a deal yet, you are an investor. If you are out there looking for deals, you are an investor, okay? Now, it's really, really easy to have imposter syndrome if you haven't closed a deal yet, and I certainly did. I mean, I had imposter syndrome even after I closed a couple of deals. But it's really important to really step into being an investor, because if you don't believe it, the brokers won't believe it either. Brokers can smell this imposter syndrome a mile off, and you have to really lean into this role if you're going to convince them that you can close. Now, like I said before, if you're looking for deals actively, you are an investor. You have to believe it and you have to own it. Because if you don't believe it and you don't own it, the brokers won't either. So start here. Okay, this is really an important step. Step 2 is you have to learn the lingo. You got to sound like you're in the game, okay? You have to know the basic concepts and vocabulary of multifamily real estate, right? If a broker starts talking to you about cap rates or talking about economic vacancy, you have to know what those terms mean, and you really can't fake your way through this, right? If you don't understand the lingo and you can't speak it fluently, then you're going to expose yourself as a newbie right away, and you're going to undermine your credibility. So this is very, very, very important. Now, fortunately, there are a lot of ways that you can get up to speed on the credibility, on the lingo, right? So you can speak credibly about the topic. You know, obviously there's books. I know a lot of people who are watching this have really dug into the books. They've dug into the podcasts. There's courses. There's obviously this group. One thing that maybe people haven't focused on as much as they should have is broker packages. You know, a lot of the brokerages will allow you to just sign up and get their broker packages. And if you really start digging into them, it's a great education on the lingo, on where the market is, on how brokers speak. I really, really can't emphasize how important it is. And we'll talk a little more later about, there's some additional importance to this, but how important it is for you to be digging into broker packages, even if you don't intend to bid on that deal, just as a learning process. Very, very helpful and very, very important. Okay. Next step, you have to know the market, right? Nothing says newbie like an investor, you know, going to a broker and saying, I want to see all of your 10 cap deals when the market is trading at a 6 cap, right? Nothing will get you shut down quicker than that. You have to understand where the market is. If you want to be taken seriously, this is very, very important. Obviously, you know, you can go in there and you can tell them this is what my sweet spot is, right? That's okay. But you have to do it in such a way that you are demonstrating to them that you understand that the market is not there right now, right? Maybe a one-off deal that's really special is going to come through and somehow it's going to be at that cap rate that you want to buy at, or you're prepared to wait and you're here relationship building, right? But you have to acknowledge that you know where the market is right now, and that you know that maybe the deals you're looking for don't fit right now, but they will. And this is a good way to start building your credibility and building a relationship with this broker for when the deals are going to be more to your liking. Okay. Next step is leverage your existing credibility, right? So here you are, you're worried about, like, I'm an imposter, I don't have any credibility, I've never closed a deal, but you have some credibility already, and you should appreciate that and understand that. You already have had a life up until this point, and there are things in your life that, you know, that give you credibility, right? So in general, people who are serious are taken seriously, right? If you've had some kind of career up until now, you'll be taken more seriously. So, you know, have you had success in another business already? That is helpful, right? It's not going to get you over the line, but every little piece helps, right? Do you have a prestigious profession, right? Are you a doctor? Are you an engineer? Are you a lawyer? Are you a business person? Do you have some kind of career that gives you credibility, that you can point to success in some other area? This is another building block. Have you had success with smaller deals, maybe? Maybe you've done a bunch of single-family deals, you've really knocked it out of the park, or you've done some small multis, and You've knocked that out of the park. This is going to help you. This shows that you're not just coming out of some seminar someplace with no experience. Okay. You can mine your career for details that translate to investing success. Maybe you've had success investing in something else, right? Maybe you're a good investor in some other area. There are things that you can bring up conversationally or what have you that are going to hint that you are a successful person, right? And that you can learn this business quickly. And that will help you be taken seriously and help enhance your credibility. Now, the next step, and this is really important. I mean, what goes before is building block stuff getting to this point, but really where you're going to get the incredible value and where you're going to break through is by cultivating relationships with brokers. And this is just incredibly important. Really can't emphasize how important this is. Now, one of the things you should remember about brokers is brokers are like not these ogres who are, going to eat you, right? And they're not like, maybe this is a reference. It's I'm showing my age, but like John Houseman in The Paper Chase, the law professor who seems like his entire existence is to make people look bad, right? This is not what brokers are all about. Brokers are people, right? Treat them like people. They like dealing with people that they know and like. So the key for you is to get to be known and to be liked by the brokers. And it's going to overcome a lot of stuff. I mean, people are wired in such a way that they're not rational, right? We all think we're rational, but people make decisions emotionally and then they justify them later with rational reasons. And one of the things that leads to is that people like to do business with people that they like. They don't even really know why, but they just like to. So get to be known and liked, and that's going to enhance your credibility, and it's going to help deal with a lot of the other stuff coming down the pike, right? It's really, really important to go through a personal introduction if you possibly can, right? Personal introductions always leapfrog you in terms of credibility and seriousness. And there's also like a social obligation, right? The brokers feel like they have to treat you seriously because you were introduced to them by someone they know. And this is even better when it's a non-business relationship that you have with the broker. So between you and the broker, right? So if you can find some way that you're connected to them, get an introduction or ask your friends. I actually did this. I got my sort of first real in with brokers by going to my friends who lived in the market that I wanted to focus on and asking them, hey, do you guys know any commercial brokers? And I was very specific about what I was looking for, the kind of broker I was looking for. And lo and behold, I got introductions and they took me seriously because I came through that personal relationship, right? So this is very, very important. It can really, really leapfrog you. Another thing you can do is you can use like Facebook or you can use LinkedIn to see how you're connected to the broker and then try to get that personal introduction. Really goes a long way. Now, once you get that introduction, meet the broker in person. I mean, nothing says I'm serious, nothing says I love you like a plane ticket, right? The broker that sold me my first deal, when I asked her later why she took me seriously as a newbie, she said, because you got on a plane from New York and came all the way down to South Carolina and met with me in my office. And I knew that since you were doing that, you were serious. And that's what it takes, right? A lot of people, I hear people, I got on the phone, I tried to call this broker and he didn't call me back. Send them an email saying, I'm going to be in your town on this day. Do you have time to meet me? That he's going to meet you or she's going to meet you. Okay. Because you're serious. Before you meet a broker, do your homework, right? That's where these broker packages can come in really handy. What deals are they selling now? What are they working on? What have they sold recently? What are the other deals in their portfolio? Bone up on this. People like it when they've been researched, right? You don't want to make it obvious, and make it look like you're stalking them. But at the same time, if you go in there and say, hey, I saw you just sold this deal. That was a really great deal. I wish I had been able to bid on that. You're going to show that you're doing your homework, that you're following the market, and you're going to flatter them a little bit, So this is also going to help you build a relationship. This harks back to the first point, but be interested in the broker as a person, right? Don't look at them like a dollar sign that they're going to get you a deal and make you rich. Help, treat them like a person. Get interested in them as a person and build a relationship. Find out about their family. Find out about their hobbies. Find out about the stuff they're interested in and build a relationship based on that stuff. It is really, really powerful to get beyond the business and get into the human element. And you don't have to do it in a creepy way, right? This is not creepy. This is just getting to know them as a person. So cultivate them as a person. Is there a problem you can solve for the broker somehow? Maybe this broker needs an introduction to somebody, right? Maybe this broker needs a resource that you have. This is how, when you're talking to the broker and you're trying to find out who this person is and what makes them tick, listen for ways that you can help them. Because if you can help them, they're going to want to help you. This is called the reciprocity principle. It's a very powerful psychological dynamic. If you help somebody, people have an almost like insatiable desire to help you. They don't even know why. They just feel like they have to help you. So you can take advantage of this. It's very, very, very powerful and important. Don't waste the broker's time, right? Don't overstay your welcome. Stay as long as you need to, have as long a conversation as you need to, but don't belabor it, all right? And lastly, most important, stay in touch, okay? A relationship is a process. It's not an event. You don't have a relationship because you met with somebody one time. You have a relationship because you met with them numerous times and you cultivated a relationship. That's why you call it cultivating a relationship and not just like, forming a relationship off the bat. But you have to build the relationship over time, or it's really pointless for you to have started it in the first place. Okay, step 6. You've probably heard this one before, build a team. But there's some really important reasons why you want to build a team, and it has to do with building your credibility. It's not just closing, it's the atmospherics around it, right? You don't have to have all the credibility yourself. This is something that's important to remember. Your team has to have the credibility, but you don't have to have all the credibility alone, right? You can aggregate your credibility. Just like for lenders, you can aggregate your net worth. For credibility with brokers, you can aggregate your credibility, right? So you have to build a team that has what you don't have. You may need, say, an experienced partner to give you the experience that's needed to show that you can run the deal or that you can close the deal. An approved management company. This helps with lenders. We're not really talking so much about building credibility with lenders, but this is really kind of the important one here, right? There's net worth and there's experience, and you need to show them. And maybe you don't have the experience yourself. We'll bring on an experienced partner or bring on an approved management company, and that can get you over the line. You may need a balance sheet partner or a group of partners that you all work together to satisfy the lender's net worth requirements, right? That gives you credibility with the lender, but also with the broker, right? It kind of gets you closer to showing that you can close this deal. You want to make sure that you've got your professionals all lined up, right? Your lawyer, your accountant, your mortgage broker, your management company. You want to make sure that all these people are lined up so that you can show that you can close, that you're ready to move as soon as you get this deal signed, right? You don't want to be scrambling for a lawyer when you get your LOI accepted and now you've got to go into contract. You don't want to be scrambling for a management company when you're doing due diligence. You don't want to be scrambling for a mortgage broker when you've got your deal signed, right? You've got to have all this stuff in place beforehand if you're going to close, and you want to let people know that you have it in place beforehand so they know you can close, right? Step 7 leads from the last one. It's show off your team, all right? What's the point of having a team if people don't know you've got it? A really good way to do this is put together a credibility book for brokers. It's kind of like a little brochure for your business, right? It just gives you credibility. So what you want to put in here are things like your partners, your advisors, and your professional team members, just to show that you're ready to move, right? It's also helpful, I find, to put your investment thesis in here. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, your investment thesis is, your theory of investment, like the kind of deals that you look for and why you look for them, right? The why is important because it shows that you're really thinking about this. So having a little short, one paragraph that talks about the kind of deals you're looking for and why really helps build your credibility. Your ask, your specific ask, right? Don't go into the broker saying, show me your good deals, because they're going to say, what, you're looking for a duplex or you're looking for a 500 unit property? That doesn't help me to know about good deals. What does good deal mean to you? What's the cap rate you're looking for? You're looking for value add. You want to have a very specific ask. It makes you credible because it shows you've thought about this, and it also shows that you're not interested in wasting the broker's time. Very specific ask shows the broker that they have to do less work, right? Either they've got the deal in-house for you to look at or they don't. But they having a specific ask really, really helps show the broker that they're not going to have to do all this wasted work for you by showing you deals that aren't actually what you want. Your closing ability, right? If you're able to close a deal fast, if you've got your relationships lined up, and let's just say you can close in 60 days, put that in your credibility book. It really goes a long way to showing that you're serious. And your due diligence requirements, right? If you have certain preliminary due diligence materials that you require, like certain number of months of rent rolls, certain number of years of financial statements, whatever it is that you want to see up front to decide to make a bid on a deal, put that in your credibility book. Again, it shows that you know what you're doing. So this really helps build your credibility with brokers. Okay. Step 8, borrow other people's credibility. Now, I'm not talking about identity theft here. I'm not saying pretend to be someone else. Don't let it get back to me that you're pretending to be Jonathan Twombly. But you can borrow other people's credibility by teaming up with them. And the reason that this helps you is because reputation rubs off, right? When you surround yourself with people with credibility, then the people you're dealing with tend to assume you have the same level of credibility. So if you have credibility on your team, others are going to give you the same level of credibility. Now, if you want to go kind of like the extra mile, then you may need to bring on a mentor or an advisor, and you may have to pay this person, to be honest, right? People, you go on Bigger Pockets or whatever, and you see these people saying, hey, be my mentor. And if you're an experienced investor, the fact of the matter is that most newbies are really going to waste your time, right? You may say to them something like, oh, well, if you bring me a deal, I'll work with you on the deal. And then they just bring you a deal that's in your email inbox already, because you're also subscribed to that list, right? Or they bring you something off LoopNet. I mean, this is not helpful, right? And so this is why most experienced investors kind of shun mentoring people, because they're not bringing a lot of value to the table, right? So you may have to pay somebody, and it's not necessarily like a coach that you pay, but it could be somebody that you pay with, equity in your deal. Like maybe you will find a great deal, but to get it across the line, you're going to have to give away almost all the economics of the deal to someone who can really close it. Right? I mean, I've seen this happen where people have come to me with a deal and they're looking for passive investors, and they can't find passive investors. And I'll bring it to one of my contacts and they'll say, well, yeah, we like the deal, but we want to run it. We want to take it over. Now, you have to be prepared in that situation to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to step aside. I obviously still want a piece of this equity for myself. I want to participate in this, but you guys are going to do all the heavy lifting, so you guys are going to get the lion's share. Now, it's worth your while to do this, because at the end of the day, you got to close that first deal, right? You got to be on the sponsor team on a first deal, right? And so whatever it takes, right? If it takes giving away most of the equity, then you got to do it, right? Because the next time you'll give away less, the next time you give away less, and then before you know it, you'll be the main guy and you won't have this problem anymore. So it's important really to just get over the line on that first one. Now, just to recap, the 8 steps: get your mindset right, learn the lingo, know the market, leverage your existing credibility, cultivate relationships with brokers, build a team, show off your team, and borrow credibility from other people. Now, there are probably more steps. I'm sure somebody else could come up with a list of 8 completely different things. There are some things I've left off here, but this is kind of like a basic checklist to get started. Then you can talk about how you do each of these steps later on. But I think this is a roadmap to get you going on this process. I'm always happy to talk about these things more with you if you like in the group. Okay. So in the end, maybe heard this before, but real estate is really a relationship business, okay? It's all about cultivating relationships, and you really can't get around this. You can't avoid this issue, okay? You got to build a team if you're going to be successful in this business. It's relationships, it's team, okay? And you have to cultivate relationships with everybody, right? Brokers, lenders, investors, other team members. It's all a process of building relationships and building better relationships. And the more relationships you have, the more opportunity is going to come your way. And this business probably even more so than most other businesses. All right. So a reminder, Just want to just remind you, like, don't beat yourself up. This is a very tough market right now. You can do all these things that I've just advised you to do, and you can go, to extremes on everything and do everything perfectly and still not get deals. It is a very tough market. It's the very end of a very long bull market. So much of the product is traded. Sellers, frankly, are unreasonable in their asks right now. So it's tough to get deals. So don't beat yourself up, right? What I can say to you, though, is if you don't do all these things I've just outlined, you are going to make your life much harder, even in a good market, but especially now. So if you're committed to getting deals now, you really have to go through this process, right? You really have to bear down, work extra hard if you're trying to break through right now, if you don't have deals already, right? If you're brand new, you really have to take this very seriously. Play the long game. This isn't going to be a seller's market forever, okay? This is a point I can't emphasize enough. Real estate, as much as it seems now like it's going to go up forever and it's going to be tough forever, it's not going to be. It's cyclical, right? There's going to come a time when it's going to be the sellers who are crying, not the buyers, right? So you want to play the long game and get ready for that. You want to start developing relationships now with everybody, right? You want to set yourself up for success when the opportunity is there. You can't wait till after the market turns, because by the time you get geared up, you're going to repeat this cycle, right? You're going to see other people making money. You're going to jump in. It's going to be too late. So you want to get in at the beginning of the next cycle, and the only way to do that is to get ready now. So start building those relationships now, okay? And again, don't beat yourself up. It's a tough market. It's not you. It's the market, right? You have to remember that. It's not you. It's the market. You can't fight the market. The market is what it is, all right? But keep on doing what you're supposed to do day in and day out, and you will eventually succeed if you keep working at it, okay? So I want you to be encouraged that if you do these things, they will come back to you eventually. It will work out, but you just can't give up. You got to keep going, all right? So that being said, here's my special announcement. I am reopening my Multifamily Launchpad small group coaching program very, very shortly. It's going to launch on the 1st of August in the evening. And I want to just, for those of you who don't know, tell you what this is all about. So what is Multifamily Launchpad? This is an 11-week small group program. It covers everything from choosing the right market to scaling a business and everything in between, okay? There's a very heavy emphasis on financial underwriting to build your confidence in that area. There's in-depth coverage of deal syndication. So for all of you people who don't have the funds to close your own deal and you're trying to figure out how you can possibly get investor money to get into this business, we're going to cover that. We're going to tell you how to find investors, how to cultivate them, how to track them, how to structure deals, how to do syndications from A to B, some sort of A to Z, okay? So everything from my experience doing syndications, I'm going to teach you in this program. The program is specifically designed to overcome your information overload with a roadmap. Now, probably you guys have been studying the heck out of real estate investing. You've read every book you could get your hands on. You've listened to every podcast you possibly could. You're overwhelmed with the amount of information that there is out there. Some of it conflicts, you get conflicting information. Somebody tells you one thing, somebody else says another thing. You can't reconcile the two things. This program is designed to cut through all of that information overload and just provide you with a roadmap, with a process to follow to get you deals and to get your deals closed. This is a process that I've developed myself throughout, through my career. This is what I use, and this is just cuts through all of that stuff that you've been dealing with to just help you get to your goal, okay? It's also engineered to force you to take action. Now, I have coached a lot of people, and what I've heard repeatedly is, I'm stuck in analysis paralysis. I can't get out of my own head. I don't know what to do. I can't pull the trigger, right? This program is actually designed to force you to take certain steps. Like a lot of the things we talked about today, actually, you will be forced to go through those steps and develop your credibility package and talk to brokers and talk to investors so that by the time you finish the 11 weeks, you're in business. That's why it's called Launchpad. This is going to launch you into your real estate career, get you moving, give you a kick in the ass that you need to get moving to help you cut through all that clutter, right? It's going to force you to take action and get momentum. And that's my promise to you. When you get done with this course, you're going to have momentum like you've never had before. And it's designed to build confidence because you're taking action. right? You're going to build confidence in your ability to be an investor because you've actually started to take action. You start to see how the action works. You're going to be learning skills. You're going to be practicing skills. And really, the only way to build confidence is through experience and through practice. And that's what this program is designed to do. Now, what's new this time? Some of you have seen me offer this before. What's new this time around? Well, in addition to the regular small group option that I always offer, there's a couple other options that I'm offering for the first time. One is for people who really want a lot of personal attention, I'm now offering for the first time ever a one-on-one mentoring program. I've never done this before. This is an experiment. If you want to get in on this, I may never do this again, frankly, if I don't like it. So if you want my one-on-one attention, this is your chance to be the first person or the first couple of people to go through this. Okay, so that is an option I'm offering. And I'm also offering more of a DIY option, do-it-yourself option for people who don't really feel like they need my personal help and involvement, because this program actually has a lot of follow-up in it if you go through the normal course. There's a long, long tail on this where I'm going to help you work through a deal. If you get a deal within the next year or so, I'm going to help coach you through that deal personally. But if you don't want that, if you just want to learn the content, which is incredibly valuable, by the way, I mean, you will get really, really far along in your efforts. If you just want the content, I'm going to provide that option as well. Now, you have to act fast on this. Regular price sales are going to start on July 20th. So that's basically 9 days away, right? I'm offering an early bird special, 10% off this program, off any level of the program that you want to join at. And that's going to end on July 19th. So if you want that, you need to schedule an appointment with me to talk about the program before the 19th. If you schedule an appointment before then, if I talk to you before the 19th, I will honor the price whenever you buy. But you got to get on my calendar by the 19th if you want to take part in the early bird special and get 10% off. All the spots are limited, whether it's early bird or not. This is a small group program. It's designed to be that way. I want it to be intimate. I want to give everybody the attention that they deserve. And some have already been sold. So if you want one of the available spots that's left, you got to act fast. And you won't have another chance to get a shot at this until October, right? This is a structured program. It's not running all the time. It's not self-paced. It's a structured curriculum with my personal attention, throughout. So if you want to get into this again, you're not going to have another chance till really close to the end of the year. So if this is something that you really feel you need to do now, you got to act fast. You're going to miss out. So don't miss out and have to wait around. All right. I'm sure your question is now, how do I get into the program? You have to fill out an application form. It's an application-only process. And then there's going to be a phone call with me to discuss whether this really is a good fit for you, because I only take people in the program that I really, really feel I can help. And that's very important to me. I want you to be as motivated to succeed as I am motivated to help you. I want you to be as committed to your progress as I am committed to you. So I want to go through a phone call with you to make sure that we're on the same page and that I really can help you with this program. To schedule a call, I want you to go to this URL. I'm going to post this in the comments as well, but there's no www here. It's just https twobridgeslpages.co/MFL for Multifamily Launchpad. Okay. So I'll put this up for a minute if you want to take a screenshot of this, but I'll also post it in the comments. And like I said, I'll post it in the comments. Okay. And now I will open up for questions. So we can talk about getting your first deal. We can talk about any other topics you want. We can talk about the program. It's all up to you. I'm going to get out of the screen share now and see if I can get into the question box for some more questions. So let's see how this works. All right. Let me get in here. Okay. I need to mute myself. All right. So I've got a couple questions. One is from Robert, who asks, do brokers have access to deals all over the state or just their local area? I think if they're on if they're part of a big platform, they have deals throughout the platform. So if they work for like a big brokerage firm, they've got access to everything that firm is selling. So for sure. And they may have relationships. So I only see a couple of questions in here, and I'm not sure if that's because of the delay or because people just don't have a lot of questions today, but I am going to, hang out and wait for your questions. And if not, you guys can ask questions who watch it on video, and I'm always going to answer the questions, as you post them in the group. So Frank is asking, what size of apartment complex do you recommend for the first deal? So, this is a good question, because I would say, do as big a deal as you can on your first deal, but, excuse me. But I think I would recommend doing something that's within your own net worth, or just you and your partners, without having to go and get like a balance sheet partner, just because it adds a whole lot of complication to things, and you have to give away a lot of equity to someone who's not really doing anything in the deal. It's better if you can work within your own net worth to do this. But that being said, there's definitely an argument for taking on a big deal if you can line up all the pieces, because there's much more efficiency on a big deal. It can be more profitable if you have a professional management company in there, as I recommend. It doesn't involve any more work for you, and you can just make more money faster. But I think it's harder to take down a big deal when you're starting out. So I guess the biggest deal that you dare taking on and that you can line up all the pieces for is what I'd recommend. I'm sure that's not really a super precise answer. I can go about this another way too, which is to say, I started out with a 100-unit deal, and there was a lot of pain involved in that, in terms of getting people to sign on the deal with me and stuff like that. And I've sometimes thought like maybe it would be better if I had started with smaller deals and built my way up to bigger deals. And a lot of people do it that way. So yeah, it's a complicated question. I'm sorry for not being a little more precise about it. Anybody else? All right, well, if there's no more questions, before I hack myself to death coughing here and I've run out of water, I will end the live share. But feel free to continue to ask questions in the group, and I'm always happy to answer them. So if you've got any questions about anything at all, please let me know, and I will see you inside the group. All right, take care, everyone.